Right, I should be. Oh, I'm live. Good. Hello, everyone. Welcome. Welcome one and welcome all. I'm just going to share around, guys. I'm just going to share the place around. I mean, I've got like a. Oops. We just share. I'm just going to. I already posted this video, the preview, to various things. What's this? Hope everyone's all right. I'll only be a moment. I'll be with you in a sec, ladies and gentlemen, in live chat. Let me just share this around. I'm going to share this on various groups now that it's live. I shared the preview on. I shared the preview on my page already. I shared this to some paranormal pages on. I also shared it on. I shared it on Twitter as well. So I hope everyone's alright. It usually takes a few minutes for everyone to join. I don't know if we'll get like 110 views or whatever I had last time. But I might get a good few, I hope. Not least because I might be doing 2 live streams. I might be doing another one tomorrow. I don't know yet. I don't know. I'll have to wait and see. I know, I shared this to Delafarron, didn't I? Yeah. Let me just find another group. Okay, no, Lapis. I'll celebrate to the last. Lapis, UFO, and Paranormal. There we go. They'll like that. I don't know if Della's in chat yet. If so, perhaps they wouldn't if I share it to the. Oh, I'll share it to. I'll share it to her group if she doesn't mind. If she can always delete it if she doesn't like it. There we go. Okay, guys and gals, how you doing? Who's there? Well, we've got Tor England, Lisa. Hey, Rhiannon Jones. Hi, Rhiannon. How are you? Welcome. Woody Black, Martin Taylor, David Splendid Isolation, Helen Tucker, David Schultz, Stephen Freestone, Dark Corners UK, Max Q. Max Q's gone to watch the spaceship, the SLS launch. Well, I might be doing another if it gets off the ground. I will be doing another live stream tomorrow night about that. We have Nihilist Lives Matter. We have who else? We have. Yeah, anyone else? Some of you have left me comments. I haven't been able to answer them because there's just too many. You know how it is. And we have somewhere User 1, of course. So how are you all? Legend Real is here too. And Sorenable. Hello. My God, it's the man himself, Ben. He's grown young. Oh, thank you. Well, it's good. It's good you're here, guys. It is. TK. Hello, TK. How you doing? I'll just check. I have actually shared this to Della. I think I did. Because someone who actually asked specifically about this live stream. Oh right, yeah, I did. I think. Oh right, no, I haven't yet. Okay, right, I'll just do that now quickly. I thought I sent her the preview, but not this. Okay, so Messenger. It'd be nice if there was some kind of sort of ordinary way. It's sort of like an app that just did this sort of thing automatically. You just give a list of all your shares, and it just like went poop. And it just went like gave it to just automatically just sent it to everyone in one go automatically. Yeah. But good evening. It's good to see you all here. Oh, Rhiannon, I'm sorry I didn't tell you, but I'm glad you found it. That's really really good. Have I really grown young? Oh my goodness me. Well, my room. How different is my room actually? Because well, what happened? Hello, Neil. Hello. My Neil, my voice has returned now. How do you? Hope you got on all right with your recording the other day. I mean, I was just talking privately with Neil about something. But But yes, and in when is the? Oh, you might have to email me or text me about. Is it Saturday we're doing it? Because there's going to be another Apollo Detectives. I mean, I suppose does it depend on the launch tomorrow morning? Are you going to? Who's going to get up and watch that launch tomorrow morning? I might well do it. I might well just get up and. I might just get up and come with you. Lisa says, "E.T. Can I come with you?" Funny that film E.T. I haven't watched it lately. I've watched it a couple of times, but I'm starting to feel more and more like E.T. Oh, Della, hello. You're in bed and don't have Facebook by your phone. All right, no worries, Della. I'm glad you're here. Thank you. Good to have you. It is a bit late, I know. 9 p.m. But yeah, you see, I'd like to do weekday live streams at 9 p.m. rather than 7 p.m. because a lot of people, I get a lot of viewers from around the world, and some of them are in North America. I've got viewers in USA and Canada, and if I go at 7 p.m., it's sort of like mid-afternoon their time on weekdays. They're all out at work, so by 9 p.m. you see it's sort of early afternoon where they are. Stephen Truthseeker, hi, how you doing? And there's someone here called E.T. Oh, Christ, E.T. I was just going to say I feel a bit like E.T. I really do. Right, Neil. I'll Saturday. I've got to work in the morning, like I said to you. I think on I said to you on email, on the email group. But any time after that is fine with me. And I know that Jarrett is in bloody Australia, which means God knows what time it'll be for him. But how are you all? Yeah. Best thing to do, says TK, is listen to someone called Donald. Yes, he's doing a talk, isn't he? And Lisa was saying earlier on, I think it was Lisa, said earlier on that he's going to do a speech tonight, which is pretty good. And this is just after, apparently... Hello, Mighty Morph, how do you do? How do you do, Mighty Morph? Welcome. This is just after, apparently, the Prime Minister of Cambodia has come down with a cerveza sickness. Now, why is that? And apparently he's been at the G20, and I think he's probably infected everyone. 1 p.m. Saturday, Neil. Right, I'll pencil it in, but just confirm it, and I will. I'll write Apollo Detectives now without any. Here we go. Because it's very important. I've also done an interview with Marcus, which is going to be on the Hapanlo show in a couple of weeks. Here we are. Yeah, 2 a.m. Right, Lisa. Well, because I might have to watch the recording of that because it's 2 a.m. my time. See, this is the difference when we're talking about time zones. I want to get up and watch that rocket take off, but that's like 6 o'clock in the morning. I don't know. But you see, if it takes off, if it gets off the ground, then there'll be another live stream tomorrow night. Stephen, we are talking ghosts tonight. We're talking Ghostwatch. Yes, we are. Lisa says all the world leaders are in quarantine. Oh my goodness me! Why is E.T.? What was that? Oh, why don't I have to prove that, E.T.? Predator will be crying when I probe him with my finger. Oh, E.T. Your finger is used for healing. It's got a glowing spot on the end, and you go like that, and it makes things better, doesn't it? You're one of the nice kinds of aliens, aren't you? I'll watch Trump, you do the rocket, Ben. Alright, Lisa, we'll do that. You do one, I'll do the other, and we can compare notes afterwards. Although, if the rocket doesn't launch successfully, I'm not going to do another bloody live stream about another scrub launch. Artemis 1, incidentally, seems to be having a bit of problems. It's either technical problems or the weather. But anyway, guys, Ghostwatch. Now, it's important, because I did advise you guys, I did say to you, in the original, I didn't think I put it in this notice, did I? But I did advise. Let me just the notice I put here. Here we go. Yeah, I did. Hang on. I said I recommend watching Ghostwatch before watching this program. That is the live stream. If you have never seen it before, then it's best just to go and watch it immediately, and do no research on it beforehand. Now, how many of you have seen? Put a 1 in chat if you have seen Ghostwatch. Now, or put a 0 if you have never watched it. Because I'm just curious. This is very curious. I want to know. Right. Poland has been hit by missiles, has it? Oh my God! What's happening now? I bet they're blaming the Russians, aren't they? Oh, goodness gracious. Oh, I'm not going to have to cancel another Ghostwatch live stream, am I? Because it's Let's have a look now. But someone, yeah, Russian missiles land in Poland, killing. Oh my God! Are they Russian? Oh, holy hell! Hang on a minute. Oh, goodness me. What's happening? Hang on a sec. Here we go. I'll go to the British Bullshit Corporation. 2 people have been killed in Poland after dozens of missiles were launched across targets across Ukraine. Polish media and the AP news agency report the strike near the country's border with Ukraine, but there's been no official confirmation. Poland's Bureau of National Security is meeting with an emergency session is due to give a statement. Russia's defense ministry said the reports amounted to deliberate provocation aimed at escalation. Russia launched one of its biggest barrages. The capital, Kiev, was one of the cities hit. Oh God, Russian president, Ukraine's president. Oh, so they're saying it's definitely Russian missile. The Russians haven't confirmed it. They could have just said it's sorry. One of the missiles went astray. Oh bloody heck! Russian media suggests Ukrainian missiles hit Poland. Oh bloody heck! Who's going to believe that? We're not even allowed to see the Russian side of the story, are we? Czech Parliament lists Russia as a terrorist nation. Russia denies any involvement in the missile strike on Poland. That's gonna fall on deaf ears, I'm sure. Oh bloody heck! Oh, so I got distracted, guys. I got distracted, didn't I? I got bloody distracted. But I just got distracted by World War III breaking out. All right. So Dark Corners have seen it. Torenga not. Most people have Legendary or not. Lisa Lisa saw it. All right. Elizabeth Clayton. Hello, Elizabeth Clayton. How you doing? Hello, Diego Rivera. Yes, saw it the first time. You saw it on the first broadcast, right? Oh, let me just go off screen your display capture. There we go. Stephen Trueseeker saw it. Woody Black saw it when it first aired, like me. Yeah. I was just a kid when I watched it. Yeah, I was just a kid when the Ghostwatch originally aired. Scared the living shit out of me. Similar experience to myself. Yes. Yes, NATO propaganda. Yeah, it is. Yeah. I thought you knew. Legend? No, I haven't. Someone, well, David, I think, actually inboxed me earlier with it. I didn't actually see. Well, David, no, David actually put a comment earlier on saying that this had happened. I was in the middle of preparing for the live stream. I couldn't see it, but Russia are denying it. I think that's all you can do is just keep saying. Just if you've been caught in a false flag operation, just keep saying the truth. Now it doesn't always work. It didn't work for Iraq. But there you go. Yeah, Stephen says, can we put World War III to one time and talk about Ghostwatch? Yeah, I'm not going to scrub another live stream for because if you remember, this is a belated Halloween live stream. Because I was going to do this on the day after Halloween, All Saints Day, November the 1st, and on All Saints Day, and well, what came up? I had to change it because all this horrible BBC documentary came out, which I had to do an urgent review of about Richard E. Hall. So I said I'm cancelling. Who can't hear me? Stephen Freestone can't hear me. Let me just hang on. Testing. Guys, the microphone's working okay. I've got a good connection on here. It's the mic on OBS is working all right. Hello, who's better? David, you're here, aren't you? All right. Stephen, maybe you need to turn your volume up or something like that. Yeah, so this was delayed because of the Richard D. Hall thing. Oh, Woody Black can hear me okay. Stephen, I think it's your end, mate. Now, this is the reason I brought this up is because 30 years ago, it was 30 years ago, Halloween night, 1992, that Ghostwatch originally hit the air, and I watched it. I watched it at the time, and I remember it very well. Which is remarkable because it's 3 decades ago, but I do remember it. Now the bill. Hello, the bill. Now I want you to put for those of you who've seen it, I want you to put. Could you now put Could you put a number 3 in chat if you thought it was real? when it ended. Like if you didn't know it was faked until literally sometime after it ended. If you worked out when it was fake during the actual broadcast, don't put a 3. But please put a 3 in chat right now if you, like me, didn't know. You didn't know that it was fake. Dark Corners. You didn't know. I didn't. I literally didn't. I watched it to the end. I was like you said, I shit in bricks by the end of it. 3, yeah, Benji 2. Benji 2, you did as well. Mighty Morph 666. God. I didn't know it was fake, man. I didn't. Oh no, Stephen worked it out halfway through. Right, Diego thought it was fake. You thought it might be real at the start, but worked it out. Yeah, I mean, you knew Australia soon after it aired. Elizabeth Clayton was like me, 3. Vicky Perlman, 3. Again, another one. No, not Woody. Okay, Woody and David worked it out. Yeah. Now, Lisa's made a good point here. They did try to make it. I think the intent to make people think it was real was there, even though, of course, there was a title shot and then there was a credit at the end. It was like War of the Worlds. This was similar to Orson Welles' War of the Worlds. Now, there was a radio adaptation of War of the Worlds, but some of the acting was bad, some people say. Now, you see, with retrospect, I look at it and I can actually see, firstly, some of the people who were not playing themselves. Now, most of the characters were actually playing themselves. They were people who don't normally do drama. They're not actors and actresses. They are people who present factual programs. I mean, Craig Charles is a comedy actor, I know. Mike Smith and Sarah Green normally just present magazine shows normally, and of course they play themselves. Michael Parkinson is a chat show host. He played himself. These 4 characters were literally playing themselves. They had the same name, same personality, same look, and indeed they even refer to real things they've done. At one point, Sarah Green, Michael Parkinson, yes, user 1, Michael Parkinson is probably the best actor there. He said at one point, so Sarah, you've gone from Hospital Watch to Ghostwatch. This is because Sarah Green actually did present a real program called Hospital Watch earlier on. Now, this is like breaking the fourth wall. This is a direct reference to real life. In other words, sucking the viewer straight in and making them think it's real. Rhiannon says something interesting here. Finding out it had been faked was the day any faith I had left in human nature died. I was really annoyed and upset. Well, Rhiannon, I was actually quite relieved. I mean, I don't know how old you are exactly. I mean, I'm one of these people who never says my exact age. But I'm guessing you were a similar age to me. And I actually, I was actually pretty scared by it. Mind you, I think you and I maybe, I don't know how long you've been a paranormal believer and into the paranormal things. I wasn't really I was a little bit back then. I mean, I have been since I was a little kid to some level, because I've got like old ghost books when I was a little kid, but I wasn't like hardcore like I am now back then. However, I was relieved. Morph, could be MI5 assets, Ben. I want to come on now. The idea there's some kind of cover-up beyond ufology is an interesting one. Yeah. Now, Rich Cope, hello Rich, gets real paranormal activity in their house. Yeah. David says, Ghostwatch was advertised as a play. If you read the Radio Times, it's there for all to see. So was War of the Worlds. You see, I didn't look at that. We never read the Radio Times in my home, and I never saw it. I didn't actually know this was coming. The answer is 18, quite young, and resented having to waiting the time watching it, as I was very into ghosts then and pursuing the truth. Rhiannon, I think if I saw it now, if it came out new now, I would be annoyed by it. I'd feel the same way you. I'd feel kind of let down, and in a way disappointed. Now, this is a feeling I got when I watched The Fourth Kind. I mean, there was a time, in a way, I was relieved because of course it's quite a frightening story. But there was a part of me that think, it'd be good if it was nice. It would be good if it was real. And because I watched The Fourth Kind as an older person, I'm very into the paranormal and UFOs, as you know from my watch party on it. Oh yeah. Lisa brings up the good point, about the BBC generally. They've done worse things than just put out, docu-fiction, which they want people to think is real. And what I do wonder, I mean, I thought this about War of the Worlds. War of the Worlds came out a long time ago, 1938, but you can bet that psychologists were watching how people responded to it. And I do wonder how will we, the viewing public, when we watch Ghostwatch, under some kind of psychological surveillance. Stephen says, I lived in a demonic house in Meals on the Wirral from 79 to 89. Oh, blimey, Stephen, I'm sorry, mate, I am. Yeah, I kind of like, David Schultz is asking if we have any real encounters with the paranormal. Yeah, I have, David. I've talked about them on this channel. Even up to quite recently, this year in Hull, the angel I saw in Hull, which I've done a video about. No, this caused a huge amount of controversy. This program, it wasn't quite as bad as War of the Worlds. No one like got into their car and drove for the countryside. No one looted any shops. Now, in 1938, they did. Luckily, it wasn't many people, but the way people responded to War of the Worlds was very varied. A lot of people who did think it was real, like I did, and they went and. Some of them looted. They literally broke into shops and stole stock, and they put them in their car, and they dashed for the countryside. Especially people who were living near the spot where it was supposed to happen. Now, Ghostwatch it was quite similar. Some people were phoning the BBC. They had a record number of calls and complaints saying, "What's going on? What's going on?" And they said, "Look, it's not real. It's actually fiction. It's docu-fiction." But as someone's already said this in chat, Nick Treadwell, the attention to detail. That's what got people, I think. Yeah, the attention to detail was excellent. I mean, I made some notes. I just watched it again. Actually, I watched it before when I thought I was going to do the live stream before. No, and I made some notes, but I just re-watched it because, of course, now I'm doing it. It's one of the most remarkable television programs ever made. I actually did a panel radio show about this. It's very well simulated. There's a lot of secondary references. They hold up Dr. Pascoe's book. Dr. Pascoe is played by a lady who went on to do Holby City. Gillian Bevan. She plays Dr. Lynn Pascoe, the expert. And there's a guy, Keith Ferrari, is the actor who plays Pipes, the demonic figure, the ghost, the evil ghost. But all the other characters, of course, are real. They're real people, like I said. Now that does. What's happened now? Whoops, something's happening. OBS. Oh God, what happened there? Hello. Okay, I'm getting technical probs now. Yeah, buffered. How am I now? Thanks. I'll cut out for a few seconds. Yeah, I just got a notification from OBS saying that they lost connection. It was re-established within reconnection successful. Okay, thank you very much. So you can hear me. Yeah, it was very. I think they wanted to make it look, even though it had credits at the end, it had like a title sequence. Hello, Michael Snow. I'll go back to my notes. It was meant to look real. And they had secondary references. They had Dr. Lynn's book called I forgot what it was called, but they held up a book which was hers. There was like there was references to other TV shows. There was newspaper clippings of this case. This is like a kind of secondary padding. I don't know what the actual terminology is in TV and film, but this is kind of like something that is kind of that sort of fills it out. It fills out, makes it more realistic. What's more, now this was not like, it was in the style of a live show, and it looked live. They made it look live very well, but it was recorded beforehand. Now, the creator Stephen Volk, I actually met Stephen Volk at ASAP 2011. I actually got to speak to him for a while. Now, I'll give you a good example. Let me give you a good example of how this works. There's one point where Craig Charles's character, or in other words, Craig Charles, because I keep calling him a character because it is not real, but Craig Charles is interviewing some kids in trick-or-treat costumes. And immediately, then they're just talking completely naturally, and honestly, he does not break a single word. And Michael then cuts in from the studio saying, Craig, I'm afraid we've got to leave it there and go back to the studio because we have something important we've got to do. There's a call or something. Now, that makes it look like live. It wasn't live. It was recorded beforehand. It was scripted. It was scripted like a movie. It was rehearsed. They did rehearsals. All the characters did rehearsals. I mean, on reflection, I can see, of course, I think the acting skills of the real people, Sarah Green, Mike Smith, Craig Charles, Michael Parkinson, was very good because they were playing themselves, and they weren't doing things live. Everything was recorded beforehand. There was a director saying action, and I think they may well have been told to ad lib some of the scenes. Yeah, I think they did a damn good job. David, they did a very good job. It was very skillfully made. I talked about this with Stephen Volk. I said he actually introduced himself to me because I was talking with my partner at the time, Sue. We were at this conference and we were talking about Ghostwatch. And this guy at the end of the table says, "Oh, by the way, I made that just so you don't talk behind my back." So we had a discussion with him. And yeah, now Parkinson did the interview with a ghost. Now there was actually something called, which I've never seen, which is called Ghostwatch Behind the Curtains. This is a documentary. This is a making of documentary, which you can get. I think it might even be on the DVD I've got as an extra. Now this has never been shown on BBC again. Like I said, there was a lot of complaints. People phoned in and firstly people phoned in and said, "What's going on? Is it real? Is it real?" And they were reassured it wasn't. Oh, it's being re-released next year. Oh, blimey, Stephen. I mean, is it going to be shown on the BBC again? You see, because there will still be some people, even though it's been like, the DVD's been re-released again. All right. It's that some people will see it again and think it's real again. That's the problem. Stephen says this is the documentary, Ben. Apparently, I'm in it. Are you, Stephen? All right. All right, yeah. How did you get into the documentary? Were you involved in the program in any way? Oh, Michael Parkinson interviewed Orson Welles. I see. That must have been in the old days, because I think he died in the sort of late 70s. Hello, Tina. How are you? Tina Silver's here. But you never know. That might have given him the idea. That might have given him the idea to be on this particular show, because this is not the sort of thing he would normally present, even if it was a live, real one. All right, Stephen said, I set up the very first website devoted to Ghostwatch 20 years ago. All right. That's right, I see. Because, Stephen, I was like... I think I got the DVD a long time ago, probably around about then, and I watched it again because I was... I've got it somewhere in my pile. I mean, I know it's there because I've done a big clear out of my room when the plumbers were here. Did I mention I think I mentioned on a previous video that the plumbers were in this room tearing half the wall out. All this bit to my right was gone, and they were putting new pipes in. Not ghostly pipes, real pipes. Yeah. Let me just. It's so. Now on reflection, I look back at it now and I can see. And there's a lot of attempts. You see the scene where Sarah's making coffee for the crew. Did you see that? I expect that was ad lib. They were just making cups of coffee, saying to the sound man and the cameraman, "Do you have tea or coffee?" Things like that. There was the guy. There was Pasco's colleague, who is called. He's got an interesting name actually. He's called Alan Demescu. Now Demescu is a Romanian name. I don't know if there's some reference to Dracula there. There was also, Craig he deliberately shocked Sarah, and she looks shocked actually. I wonder if that was one of the ad lib scenes, because he bursts out of the cupboard with a mask on, being his usual clownish self. David Schultz says, here's a question: why do ghosts always appear in clothing instead of their original birthday suit? They don't, David. It's just you're seeing the wrong ones. Hmm. And David said the tabloids feigned outrage. Well, a lot of people did. A lot of people were outraged. I think it was. How long was it between? I don't know how long it was between. I can't remember what time of day it broadcast. I remember it was. I think it was light outside. Was it? Because which means it must. No, it can't have been because that would have been like at the end of October. That would have been like 5 p.m. It couldn't have been that. That couldn't have been that early. It must have been like 9 p.m. after the watershed. I was a young adult at the time. I was a porter, so I must have been on 6 to 2 or something. I wasn't on nights. I didn't have to go off. I remember I didn't have to go off the night shift. I must have been on 6 to 2 or days off. Yeah, it was dark. Yeah, it must have been dark out. It must have been late. But I remember being not knowing it was real, but not knowing if it was real or not. And then it came on the news. The news did a report saying that. I think it was a headline. It was their headline. They said. They said as part of their headlines. They said. There's been a situation with a recent drama that was put on the TV a couple of hours ago called Ghostwatch. It was a drama. Oh god, it was a drama, but it was so well done. Like I say, it was so well done. It was so very, very well done. Of course, when I look back at it now, I can see there are clues within it. I mean, you see, I wouldn't. It's the sort of thing you don't necessarily spot. It's easy to say these things with retrospect, knowing. For example, someone mentions that the young girls are not very good actors. Suzanne, the older girl in particular, is not. You can see she's not well trained. She's probably good at drama at school. She's a young girl, about 11, same age as Janet Hodgson. I want to talk a bit more about the Enfield Poltergeist in a little while. Because this is very like the Enfield Poltergeist. That actually was, I think, was a clue with retrospect. I think. But apart from that, I think it was only that really that gives it away in the beginning. Really, to be honest. Yeah, I think that's Some of the voices on the phone line sound a bit stupid, like Kevin from Neath. I was having a sandwich and the bloody table, the glass table shattered. Oh dear. Those were not real call-ins. They again were. It was all acted. And David said it's very reminiscent of the Enfield Poltergeist. In fact, it had a very big influence. In fact, I'll tell you a bit more about that in a minute. But Guy Lyon Playfair was a consultant on the show. He's one of the principal researchers, along with Maurice Grosse. He researched that particular case. Now, another thing. There's other things that gave it away. Were, of course, some of the Dr. Lynn Pascoe didn't exist. Now, in those days, you couldn't really Google because the World Wide Web didn't start until I think '95. You could have looked her up on Usenet or something, but I didn't have that. Mighty Morph, Ben, what's the reason for ghosts? Oh, give me Mighty Morph, give me a break, will you? Don't ask big questions right now. That's like the Crafty Nine that's asking me, Ben, tell me what you think about disclosure. Dr. Lynn Pascoe doesn't exist. Neither does Emilio Silvestri. He's not a member of Psychop. Obviously, if it came out now, I'd be googling everything as we go along. What's more, Foxhall Drive does not exist. There is one. I think I've just checked. There's one in Leicester. There's one in a couple of places, but there's none in Northolt, London. There's no Foxhall Drive in Northolt, London, so the address doesn't exist. That being said, however, you can see very clearly that it is filmed in it. That's not a studio. That's a real street and a real house. No, Mighty Morph. Can we come on to that later? It's that's a. I could say that ghosts seem to appear with people who've. Yeah, suicide mentions suicide. Is it people who commit suicide become ghosts? Ghosts tend to appear with people who've died suddenly and in very disagreeable ways, with a lot of pain, a lot of fear. There's a lot of ghosts in hospitals. There's a lot of ghosts on battlefields. There's ghosts at crime scenes for this reason. Stephen says souls that are passed from the third dimension. You notice the film Ghost is very good. The one with Whoopi Goldberg, Patrick Swayze, Demi Moore. Do you remember the scene where Sam is in the hospital and he meets one of the other ghosts, and you see a guy being worked on through in the resus room, and a beam of light comes down and takes him away, and the ghost says to Sam, "Lucky bastard." In other words, he got to go straight to heaven. Whereas Sam and the other ghosts have to walk the earth until whatever thing has happened which allows them to set them free, so they can go to heaven, which of course does happen to Sam at the end of the film. TK, I don't know the answer to that. He says, is there a difference between ghosts and what mediums speak with? Sometimes not. I mean, sometimes we know not, because mediums actually go to haunted houses and can communicate with the spirits there sometimes. The Sixth Sense, that's a good one, yeah. Now that's a story. Bruce Willis plays a ghost who is walking the earth. He doesn't even, as he said, they don't know they're dead. Yeah, that's very good. I'll go back to my notes briefly. Yeah, what I'll do is in a minute in a minute, guys. I'm going to go to the. I will go to the comments in both of the notices I put up. But before that, I just want to nip out quickly. All right. But if you play amongst yourselves for a few minutes, I just need to nip out of the room. I won't be long. Everything's clean in here. It's amazing, you know. I've just cleaned out the entire room, and it's I'm really pleased. It may look the same, but it's very bits of it are different. Mighty Morph says, legend has it Ben is 8 feet tall. What am I, Patty the Bigfoot? No, I am... Oh, Michael Snow just heard something. Oh, don't say we've had ghosts here while I've been away. Lisa says not much head space between the ceiling. No, this flat has actually got a low ceiling. It's like the thing in Being John Malkovich, you know. It's just like the 14th and a half floor or 7.5 floor, isn't it, or something. Now, Dark Corners. Imagine if something moved while Ben was out. Oh my God, that would be something. And for a ghost to appear now, that would be quite a turn up, wouldn't it? Did something happen? What did you hear, Michael? I was just talking to Ahmad. What did you hear? We've been. Oh God! Don't tell me we've been. Did you hear me talking to Ahmad just now? Did you? That might be what you heard. You might have heard Ahmad's voice through the door. He was just outside. Thought I heard something just behind before Ben came back. I heard. Bloody heck! Well, all I'll do is I'll listen to the recording of this. A tap noise. I'll have a listen. Well, I'll have a listen. It could have been my hand on the door handle. I don't know. Lisa didn't hear anything. All right. Elvira blow up doll. Don't. Are you insulting? Are you insulting? Ben, look behind you. Shut up, Morph. You insulting Russell? Yeah, Stephen's seen a 2.5-foot being levelling on his landing. Oh, Stephen, that sounds like it, mate. It does. Sounds like you've had trouble. Claire, hello, Claire. How are you? Cosmic Claire is here. Your headboard is still smiling, Ben. Claire, I've been watching your videos. They're very interesting. Your latest videos, because I know you're coming back on the Herpanlo show, which is great. That's Bungle. Yes, he's got a new hat. He's now a Welsh headboard. No, you see, I'm serious. If people can, if something weird has happened, right? If something weird happened while I was out of the room just now, do you know there was EVP on the Third Rail show not this week, last week's show. There was 2 weeks ago there was EVP on Third Rail. Last week Trevor and I did a show all about it. It's just like a very brief maybe just a couple of seconds, but we can hear a voice. We can hear a voice which is not either of ours. Yeah. Yeah, so it just makes a. Is it because what we're talking about now, the Ghostwatch program, is that kind of like what is what kind of has caused this? Oh, let's. Now I'm going to go through your comments from the notices now. All right, so here we go. On the first notice, that was the one I deleted. That was the one I had to change. I actually put it NB. I'll be changing the theme of tomorrow's live stream. That is the 1st of November. I will cover the Ghostwatch on a future date. Apologies. So this is the future date. Dark Corner says underneath here, I remember watching Ghostwatch on TV as a young child. It absolutely scared the life out of me. I've never gone back, but we'll try and give it a rewatch before this string. Dark Corners, did you manage to do that? Let me know if you managed to do that. David Smith said, I remember it scaring me as a kid. Rewatched, couldn't stop laughing. I mean, now, it doesn't. See, this is what I said to you guys, and it was a little bit controversial. It was a little bit controversial, and I know some of you might think I shouldn't have done this, and some of you are going to say, well, Ben, you're deliberately freaking people out. This is why I said this in the notice. I said in the notice, I recommend watching Ghostwatch before listening to this or watching this program. That is this live stream. If you've never seen it before, then it's best just to go and watch it immediately and do no research on it at all beforehand. What I wanted you to do. All I wanted you to do was have that experience, if you could. If you've never heard of it before, and you think, Ghostwatch, what's that? Just go and watch it. Now, I wasn't going to post links because I'm not going to breach copyright, but basically it's all over the place. It's on all the alt tech sites. It's the places where you normally find dodgy movies, dodgy. Well, I say dodgy. I mean, they in this age of censorship, they could be performing an enormous service, preserving what would otherwise disappear. But the kind of websites that you can get movies on, which through slightly illicit means, you can find. I'm not going to say which ones or post links for copyright reasons, but you can go and find them and just watch it. Don't do any research on it. Watch it. And I was interested to see, is there anyone who's not heard of it will watch it and think it's real? And I know I risked scaring people. I know that some of you might think, Ben, that was really bad, man. I didn't, because I went and watched it, and my God, it scared the shit out of me. And I went and Googled it, and I realised it wasn't real. Thanks very much, Ben. You just made me mess my pants. I knew that was a possibility, which is why I did think twice before making this recommendation. However, I decided I wanted you to have the experience. I wanted you to have that experience that I had in 1992, 30 years ago, last Halloween. Spaceman says, "Hi Ben, are you going to be discussing any of the controversy of Richard D. Hall at the moment? Do you think he has gone too far this time with his latest conspiracies, which are all over the media at the moment? Love your vids, mate." Well, thanks, Spaceman 87186. I did, as you know. I actually changed the entire topic of the last live stream for that reason. And I say that, yeah. And Jack Burns says, "That was a good article on her Panamo voice, as are so many. Thanks. I hope you are still on the mend, Ben. Having had the unmentionable virus and comparing it to previous airway types of illnesses you've had over the years, do you think it may have been lab-made, bioengineered, the sense of oddness to it?" Oh, I've no doubt, Jack Burns. But I've had it a second time and I got over it. Well, of course, as you know, it affected my voice for almost 2 months. Yeah. Sarah Green, sexy, lol. Hope you're okay, mate. And I must have. Yeah, Sarah Green. I didn't. I suppose she's not the sort of woman I'd go for now. But at the time, I did. I did like her. I've changed a bit, of course, in that respect. Marley Pumpkin. Pray silence, please. Marley Pumpkin is in the house. Why not deal with reality instead of this childish garbage? Reality with a capital R. You are a total shill. Well, Marley Pumpkin, if you feel that way, why don't you go and watch somebody else's channel? Yeah, I ask you, do you see? You're like those two old men in the private box of the Muppet Show, aren't you? Why do we always come here? I guess we'll never go. You can't stand me, but you can't turn away, can you? And I got this rather long comment from Jimmy Wormholes. I remember vividly watching it on Wormhole Shepherd's Bush. Wormholes in the Wormhole Shepherd's Bush. That's a pub, I suppose. But Jimmy Wormholes uses very irregular capitalisation here, which makes his text very hard to read. New people who are friends of my bro there, bless his soul, who worked on the programme. Bruv was head storeman at the BBC, Ealing Studios, the Key Grip based at BBC Centre, White City. Bruv worked on loads of shows, Heidi, High Blackadder Ball, Chinese Detective, 2 Ronnies. He must be quite old then. Blue Peter, Top of the Pops, yeah, those were old things from the 80s. Became a lighting technician in 1985. So I'm finding I can't read what this person's saying. I mean, just have a look. Look at the way they write. Just look at this. Look at this is hardly. Did you get marks at school for your capitalisation? And there's no punctuation either. Sorry, Jimmy Wormholes. I'm glad your brother had such a successful career in television, but I can't read this. I just can't read it. Nick Treadwell, who's in chat right now. I remember watching it, Ben. I knew it was a film. It was so well put together. It still scared me. I'm glad it's getting some recognition at last. Darren Retto said, I was taken in by Ghostwatch right up until Craig Charles jumped out on Sarah Green with a mask on. Sarah's acting of shock was so wooden I instantly knew that something was not right. From then I noticed all the other characters were acting a bit off. Shame, really. I would have loved it to have been shocked by the ending, but there you go. I didn't notice that myself, but of course they are not actors. They are presenters of news, magazine, current affairs programmes. They're sort of magazine presenters. They did children's TV. They've done music shows. Mike Smith has done Top of the Pops, things like that. Michael Parkinson was a chat show host. They're not actors. And then here's my second live. This is now my second notice, the one I've just put up. Rick Horden says, brilliant, I'll set my alarm. Thanks, Rick, I know you're there. Ryan Harris gives me the thumbs up. And that's it. So I only had a handful of comments on that once, but thanks very much, guys. It's much appreciated. So right, I'm going to obviously these things. Hello, Extreme Assassin. I'm getting like a big scroll down now. Black Circle. Hello, Claire. My voice is back. That's right. Yeah. Mighty Morph, for some reason I had to approve that. Okay, so Michael Snow, what's happened to Sarah Green? I don't know. We'll have a look. What is Sarah Green doing these days? Sarah Elizabeth Green, English television presenter, co-presented Blue Peter. Television career. In April 2017, she presented an edition of This Morning alongside Philip Schofield. Oh, right. That's cool. So she is now. Yes, she is. She a few years ago she did do This Morning with Philip Schofield. Yeah, that's cool. She was married to Mike Smith, who of course he did die. Mike Smith. Mike Smith was. How old was Mike Smith when he died? He was not old. 59. Yeah, poor Mike Smith. Died in 2014, 1st of August 2014, 59. Following complications following major heart surgery. His wife for 25 years, Sarah Green, survives him. Oh dear. How horrible for her. Yeah, Stephen Mike Smith is dead, unfortunately, yes. Yeah, that's sad. But Sarah Green's still going. Well, in 2017, she was still in TV. She's 65 now, but she's still doing TV. Now, David said, this is why... Hang on. David Schultz, a suggestion. Interesting film is the 1963 The Haunting, a great ghost film. David's Splendid Isolation. This is why Ghostwatch has never been rerun. It could only work as one moment in time, to be experienced in the moment, time and culture on television, never to be repeated. I don't think that's the reason, David. I mean, it's a good point. That's a reason why you might not necessarily rerun a programme. However, they're still doing old repeats of George and Mildred, aren't they, on Dave and UK Gold? I think it's never been run because they don't want the same reaction. They don't want that kind of controversy again. Yeah, is Michael Smith's ghost still there? Or has he gone up to the spirit world? I hope he's gone up to the spirit world and is not stalking the earth. What's that little icon at the top on my toolbar? Oh, I don't know. This page has been blocked from accessing your camera and microphone. Well, obviously it is. It seems to be working okay. OBS is good. The microphone's registering on there. Probably too many Mike Smiths. It's quite a common name, isn't it? Yeah, but I remember he used to do like that thing. Was it Saturday Superstore? Barney. There's someone here called Barney bought a dildo. Oh God, is Putin a Chad? Putin is a maligned figure in our media. Very unfairly maligned. Now, Martin Taylor says Christmas Carol is one of the best ghost moral films. It was, believe it or not, Martin, it was a book by Charles Dickens. I don't know if you're aware of that. Stephen Trucy was mentioning a 1991 film called The Haunted. That's just the year before this. Oh, there's loads of really good horror movies and things. Yeah, there's loads of really good horror movies. Francine Ruddock, hello, how are you? Hi Ben, hope you're feeling better. You sound a lot better. I do, thanks Francine, thank you. Thank you, I do. So what else is in my notes? That's it, that's all in my notes. Now, I just want to talk about the Enfield Poltergeist. Because Guy Lyon Playfair was a... yeah, it says here... Ghostwatch was a British... I'll talk about Guy Lyon Playfair because he was a consultant on this. Ghostwatch is a British reality horror pseudo-documentary television film. Only broadcast on BBC One on Halloween night 1992. Written by Stephen Volk, who I've met. Directed by Leslie Manning. The drama was produced for BBC's anthology series Screen One. Produced by Richard Broke, Ruth Baumgarten and Derek Nelson. Despite having been recorded in advance, the narrative was presented as live television. During its first and only UK television broadcast, the show attracted considerable furore, resulting in an estimated 1 million phone calls to the BBC on the night of the broadcast. A mixture of complaints and praise for the programme's unique presentation. I bet a few people were saying, look, is it real? Just tell us if it's not real. Oh, it is actually made available. Alright, I'm not breaching copyright. It's available on the American streaming service Shudder and Internet Archive. Okay, so just go to Internet Archive, you'll find it. There's been 2 home video releases, a 10th anniversary VHS, and a DVD in 2011. That's when I got it, yeah. And of course the documentary, the making of documentary, Behind the Curtains, which I want to see. Behind the Curtains refers to that shape in the curtains, which at first people think is not there, and it looks like just a random shape. And Lynn Pascoe actually says, "Now, I think that's just a random shape." But then, of course, in the final scene, you see it as much more, far more filled out as a real figure. There's some real horror in this. I mean, I can't imagine this being shown before the 9 o'clock watershed. For example, one of the neighbours reports about a pregnant dog that was killed and butchered, and they find the little babies and things like that. There's also the background to the house, the fact that it was the home of there's something called Mother Seddons, a Victorian baby farmer who murdered children, and an anonymous call from Pipes' probation officer, where he's named as Raymond Tunstall, a disturbed paedophile who believed he was possessed by Mother Seddons. He killed himself in the glory hole. That's not what it sounds like. It's just a cupboard under the stairs, which the family called the glory hole. His body was eaten by his relatives' cats. Cats will do that if you don't feed them and you die. Dogs will usually hesitate because they're more sentimental, but cats will tuck in straight away. Yeah. This is yeah. And at the end, of course, it goes. The possession of the evil demonic Pipes runs to the TV studio. It travels all the way to the TV studio, and as Michael Parkinson is wandering around the studio, he starts speaking in that strange voice that the girls were, indicating that he had been possessed by this demon as well. I mean, that's shit your pants scary stuff, isn't it? Now, here we go. The story is based on the story of the Enfield Poltergeist. This is interesting. A claim of supernatural activity at 284 Green Street, a council house at Brimsdown, Enfield in London. Between 1977 and 79, the activity centred on sisters Janet, 11, and Margaret Hodgson, 13. Of course, young girls in early adolescence. As Lynn Pascoe actually says in the programme, they tend to be the focus of this particular type of paranormal activity. Morris Gross and Guy Lyon Playfair were two SBR investigators. There were some others as well. Some were more convinced by others. They mentioned Psychop. That's as you know from my skeptic talk. It's kind of a joke name. The policeman of paranormal investigation. The Committee for the Scientific Investigations of Claims of the Paranormal. It's now called CSI because Uri Geller sued them. Sent a couple of investigators, Milburn Christopher and Joe Nickel. Now I don't know Milburn Christopher, but I know Joe Nickel. He's a very famous skepper. American skeptic, investigator of the paranormal. He's a kind of James Randi type figure. He's a member of the CSI, writes regularly for Skeptical Inquirer, their journal. There's a picture of him in Tam 9 with Richard Wiseman there. I've been to the Tam London conference. There we go. There's Wiseman there. I think which one's Joe Nickel? And Phil Plate. Oh, that's Phil Plate. So that must be Joe Nickel because I recognise him as Phil Plate, and that's Joe Nickel. Yeah. It was criticised. Of course, they said there was nothing to it. You actually have a CSI person, Emilio Silvestri, who's a fictional psychop investigator who appears on the line from New York. The story, it was covered in the British newspapers, featured on TV and radio. I'll show you a bit of the TV footage in a minute. It's very interesting, and dramatised in the 2016 horror film The Conjuring 2. I've not seen that. I saw the TV series with Timothy Spall, which wasn't very good. How are you guys getting on in chat? How you doing, guys? Leanna doesn't like the anti-cat propaganda. Oh, right. Yeah, they do paint cats in a bad way, don't they? David's asking about the human thing which happens to cattle. I'll have to talk about that another time, David, sorry. Mighty Morph is asking you about the purpose of the Artemis 1 rocket launch. That's going to come up in tomorrow's live stream if it happens. If it doesn't happen tomorrow, I'll do a live stream and or video when it does happen. Okay, so I'll carry on with that. I'm checking up on your little comments any time. Yeah, in 1977, Peggy Hodgson, a single mother, called the Metropolitan Police, saying she's witnessed furniture moving, and her children heard knocking sounds on the wall. Well, we've heard that, haven't we? This is exactly what happened in the show. Others, such as a policeman, reported the furniture moving, wobbling and sliding, disembodied voices, and the children levitating. Oh, God. More than 30 people, neighbours, psychic researchers, journalists, variously witnessed this various paranormal phenomena. Morris Gross and Guy Lyon Playfair reported curious banging noises from Janet's general direction. Playfair maintained the haunting was genuine and wrote a book called This House is Haunted. In 1980, just after this all ended. And here we go. This is why Ghostwatch is similar. It says here, Janet was detected in trickery. Yeah, a video camera in a room showed her bending spoons with her bare hands. So she was faking evidence. Yeah, Janet and Margaret admitted pranking the journalists. Gross and Playfair compelled the girls to retract their confession. Now there was a reason for this, and it's actually quite sad. And I feel enormous sympathy for Janet and Margaret, because they had very little contact with their father. As I said, they were brought up by their single mother. They had very little contact with their father, and as Deborah Hyde rightly points out, this is going to mean they might latch on to an adult male figure in their lives, and Morris Gross was basically living there, and they kind of fell in love with him. He became he was like their father figure, I suppose, and I feel enormous sympathy for them for that reason. And Hyde was actually claiming that they faked this image just so they could have this man in their lives. Children, children who are deprived of parental love will often look for something similar from other adults, and I mean I'm no exception myself here. I do believe my dad loved me, but my dad has his problems, not least because of his relationship with my mum. My mum, certainly later on in my life, from the age of about 8 or 9 onwards, hated me. This is where I talked about this with Barry, my video about Barry. But this is like, I don't know how many of you listened to my audiobook of Evan's Land. Again, this is a figure not unlike myself, who was deprived of parental love. My main character, Evan Hughes, the central character of Evan's Land, his mother died when he was a small child. He never knew his father. He never knew who his father was. He was an anonymous man. And he was brought up by his uncle, who was very, very distant and neglectful. As a result, he's both his best friend and his best male friend and his girlfriend are considerably older than him, because subconsciously he's looking for that bond with older adults as a young man. Someone suggested that Janet was practicing ventriloquism. Well, you can be the judge of that, because I'm going to show you some of Janet's supposed ventriloquism in a minute. Professor Chris French, the evidence in a 2016 article by psychology professor Chris French in Time Out magazine. All right, he writes for Time Out. He's described 5 reasons why he believes the case to be a hoax. I can't help doing his voice. His reasons are: the 2 sisters involved admit in hoaxing some of the activity. Well, some is right. I mean, don't get me wrong. Despite what I said about the girls and about how they wanted to, I think they wanted to keep Morris Gross in their lives. because he became like a father figure to them. Despite what I just said, and what Deborah Hyde is probably right in her assessment of their psychology, this didn't mean the entire phenomenon was not real. The girls just wanted to reinforce it to keep Gross's attention. The photo of Janet levitating above her bed could just as easily be explained as Janet jumping. Yeah, there's actually a series of photos now. I think this has got a lot to do with technology at the time. This was 1977. Interestingly, the girl's bedroom is modelled almost exactly in Ghostwatch, including the posters on the wall and things. Although they're different, they have like David Soul and people like that, and Errol Brown, because this was the 70s. Of course, in the 90s, it was different people. It was Michael Jackson and people like that. But the girls they have posters of rock stars on their bed. You see, now there's some photos. Let me just find them. I'll show you the photos. It's a series. You see, they didn't have movie cameras like we have. They didn't have movie cameras like we have today. Now, in today's technology, if it was a trick, it would be impossible. But let me just show you. I'm sorry if you guys are leaving me comments. I just Here's one of them. Whoops. Yeah, here's one of them. This is Janet. That could be her jumping. What they did was they had a very fast exposure camera which captured a series of stills. Bugger off. No, I'm not going to subscribe to the Tory graph. Here she is, there's the David Soul photo there, you see. That's Margaret in the other bed. But you see her. Now, that could be jumping, yeah. This is a series of pictures. Here's another one. As you can see here, you could call that jumping. I mean, can she jump that high? I mean, you see, because it's a series of stills, it's impossible to know exactly what the motion is, what's actually going on. There are a couple more which are a bit... Well, this is... that's her standing up, you could say. There's several images like this. I'm afraid it's impossible to tell, but we know a policewoman, at least several people, including a policewoman, witnessed the girls levitating, literally being lifted up into the air. And unfortunately, like I said, because there was no high-speed movie photography, high-speed motion pictures the investigators were using. They just had this thing that produced a series of stills. You can't really say. It's impossible to say for certain. But obviously, you see, if she is jumping, it's a fast exposure. It must be. It looks like it's a flash. Is that a flash? Because this was darkness. It'd be nighttime. See the way her hair, her hands. There's no blur. That's a fast exposure shot, definitely. If she's jumping. Alternatively, if she's just hanging there like that, it's hard to tell, isn't it? How are you guys getting on in chat? Oh, now if I miss any of your Cosmic Claire, who took the photos? I think it was an automatic camera set up by. I think it was set up by Playfair or Gross. David says probably just jumping. I mean, it's impossible to know. But we know that Willie Black, she's just jumping on the bed. Some of them you could say like that. Diego Rivera, we're going to come on to The Voice in a minute. Claire, it was apparently an automatic camera. That I think, if I remember rightly, there was no one in the room at the time, but there was numerous witnesses, including a policewoman, actually witnessed levitation. Unless they're lying, of course. Now we go back to Frenchie, shall we? Let's go back to Frenchie. What was Frenchie saying? All right, then. The photo of Janet levitating above her bed could just as easily be explained as Janet jumping. Well, the photo in itself is not real evidence, yes, Chris, because I'm addressing. It's not like he's here. I actually quite like Chris French. I think he's cool. I did meet him in. Well, Rhiannon and we both met him in Bath, and I think he's not a bad guy. The spirit, quote-unquote, of an old man who supposedly possessed Janet took a great deal of interest in menstruation. I don't know why that is. I don't know why that's a point either in favour or against it being a real case. Janet at that time actually had just begun her monthly periods. I mean, she was a girl of the age where she was at the age 11, where you'd expect a girl to start to experience menstruation. You know. Eyewitnesses are notoriously unreliable. Well, which ones, Chris? I mean, the thing is, like, the problem is once you say that eyewitnesses are totally unreliable, it's just 4 words, a single sentence. What are you going? That means are you eliminating all eyewitness testimony? What about the people? What about the people in Phoenix who saw the lights? What about the thousands of people at Fatima who saw the strange UFO? At what point are you saying that all eyewitness testimony must be eliminated? Because if you're not, then where do you draw the line? What is the specific eyewitness evidence related to the Enfield Poltergeist? We have, especially in the early days, we had a journalist who's actually, well, it's more than just an eyewitness testimony. He was hit on the nose by a lump of Lego. He said if it had gone in his eye, it would have blinded him. Pieces of Lego were flying through the air. The policewoman, I mean, it seems strange that a metropolitan policewoman actually be involved in some kind of hoax? And she says here, other schoolgirl pranks before and after have gotten out of hand. Well, this relates again to the fact there was deception involved, which I've already explained. Yeah. There's been numerous references to this in the media, and there's a December 1978 BBC4 a program about it. I don't know if you can get that online anywhere. I'll have a look for it. The 1992... Oh, right, Ghostwatch. It mentions Ghostwatch, which is based on the Enfield Poltergeist. March 2007, a documentary about Enfield, again. The Enfield Poltergeist. It featured in Strange But True. The 2015 Sky Living television series about it. That wasn't very good, that. And then Conjuring 2, I've mentioned. And 2018, another BBC Radio 4. This is very interesting because Janet Hodgson literally came out of the closet. Literally, how long ago? I'll find a link. I actually would like to find a reference to her own experience as well. Her own appearance. Because we should watch that. We should watch a bit of that. Well, maybe not watch all of it, but it's a very interesting... I'll probably get a third-party strike, but I think we should see it. Clive is going to talk now.
I gave a talk in Brisbane in Australia.
I don't care, Clive. You green carbonista, you watermelon. Bugger off. It's whenever I open a new YouTube tab, I get this bloke Clive Hamilton. He's an Australian. He wrote this book about climate change. Hang on, right, here we go. Janet Hodgson this morning. I wonder if I can find it. This is a woman who... here we are. Now, there's several interviews with them because, of course, they came back. They decided to start speaking publicly. And Margaret did as well. But where's that? The best thing, their first ever appearance was on This Morning, where they had a debate. Deborah Hyde, they were on there with Playfair, and Deborah Hyde was there too. Oh, where is it? Where the bloody hell is it? Yeah, right. Okay, here we go. Janet. This is. Yep, this is Janet Hodgson. All right, now give you a bit of background. Janet, the young girl. I'll play you her as a child first. Janet, the young girl, the youngest sister, basically went. Dark Corner says, you don't know pain until you've stood on a piece of Lego in the dead of night. Oh, God, yeah. It's when it goes crunch and you feel a little bit, oh, God, yeah, I know. Never mind having one hit you on the nose, man. At least when they're flying through the air, you can't stand on them. Oh, Claire says, I've had ghosts or some kind of interdimensional visitors most night when I'm dropping off to sleep. It's a bit creepy, TBH. Claire, I mean, you could be you have sleep paralysis like me. I've covered that before. Or something similar, hypnagogic or hypnagogic when you're dropping off to sleep. You have that experience. I've had hypnopompic experiences when I'm waking up. Very, very interesting they are, yeah. To give you a bit of background, Janet Hodgson, which I was going to play you an interview with her as a young girl because the BBC or someone did a TV show which is contemporary with the time, and you'll hear her doing this supposed ventriloquism. And David says incubus or succubus, yeah, possession, like in The Shining. But and there's now she basically when in 1979 the phenomenon stopped. It came back briefly apparently in the early 80s, but just for a couple of weeks and then disappeared again. But when she left home, she left home as an adult. She never spoke to anyone, and then she never spoke to a word. She was very, very private. She rebuffed all attempts at interviews until, here we go. Where's the one? Where is it? Here we go. Exclusive Enfield Poltergeist 2012 on This Morning. I'll play you that in a minute. But here, this is actually Janet as a young girl at the time. This is her as a young girl at the time. This is very interesting. Have a listen to this.
These teenage sisters believe they're haunted.
Well, Janet's not teenage. She's 11, but Margaret's 13, yeah.
By a poltergeist.
I was going to ask.
Can you see that? You can.
The same question as I asked earlier. How many voices are there?
600.
God, did you hear that?
Voices.
I know the joke.
How many really are there, Margaret?
I think so far we've had 10
Three.
sensible voices, but the rest of the names are absolute rubbish.
That was odd, wasn't it? I mean, did you hear that voice? I want to make a mention of the voice now. Several times we've heard about ventriloquism. We've had the term ventriloquism mentioned in the. Hello, Nocturnal Frequency Radio. How are you? Thanks for joining us. Welcome. Good to see you. Now, it's like there's a lot of recordings of Janet speaking like this. Is dramatised in Ghostwatch. Suzanne in Ghostwatch does the same thing. She has this sort of gruff voice. You hear her say 600, 3. Now that's using what's called, I think they're called the fata voce. They're using this part of your throat called a fata voce, which is actually there's these folds of your throat. The fata voce means your false larynx. When you do it like that. Now, you can do that. I mean, people can make noises with that noise in that way. It's like Gollum in Lord of the Rings. Although the actor Andy Serkis, and he doesn't use fata voce, he's trained his own larynx to do that voice. The thing is, no one has ever been shown to be able to speak in fata voce for more than a very short period of time, because the irritation it causes is too extreme. You end up with a terrible sore throat, even if you try. I'm not bad, thanks. It's good to see you, Nocturnal Frequency Radio. Hope you guys are okay. Now, there's tape recordings of Janet speaking in that voice. There's hours apparently of tape recording. You actually hear the guy say, "Why?" At one point, you can hear Gross saying, where are you? Why can't we see you?" And I don't know. And she says, "'Cause I'm invisible." And I remember this very clearly. I remember hearing this. And Gross says, "Why? How come you're invisible?" And the voice replies, "'Cause I'm a ghost, a ghost." Hang on. Now I've got a drink now. You see how difficult that is? You see how difficult it is to that voice? I mean, interestingly, like in The Exorcist, now, some people claim that Janet had watched The Exorcist. The Exorcist was released, it was 73 or 74. Someone actually wants me to do a watch party for The Exorcist. Let's just find out, because The Exorcist. Come on, let's just hourglass in for a moment, because I mean, 1973 American supernatural horror. How old was Janet in 1973? She was 11 in 1977. So you can do the maths. What was she doing watching The Exorcist? I mean, The Exorcist scared the sweet, dry living crap out of me when I saw it as an adult. Yeah, Dark Corners wants me to do a watch party on that. Yeah, some people... You're not the first person who's requested that, so probably I'll do one. Yeah, I'll do one, Dark Corners. I've had several requests for watch parties on various films, so about 3, 4. And Claire tried tuba throat singing. Oh, the tuba throat singing you get that actually in the you actually get the tuba throat singing in KLF's Chill Out album, and it's really amazing. But it's not the same as Fata Voce. Of course, in that film, the film is about a young girl who is possessed. I mean, you've seen the film, you know, spoilers here. Who is possessed by a demon, and the demon creates that strange kind of voice, which is different from her own. And some people claim that Janet watched that film and got the idea from it. Well, if she'd watched that film at the age I think she was when she watched it, she should have had too many nightmares for it to cause it. And what are you letting a girl that young watch that film for? It's an 18 certificate. What they used to call X in those days. Now then, so I doubt very much that Janet, her mother, I mean, really, her mother shouldn't have let her watch that. And if she watched it illicitly, maybe secretly, I mean, she should have had nightmares for years, because you can work out how young she was when she saw that. She was 11 in 77. You can work it out. So that voice, the recordings of Janet speaking like that. And what's more, there were a lot of people who witnessed it said the voice didn't seem to come from her throat. It didn't seem to come from her. It's like the voice seemed to come out of the air. It seemed to come out of the air beside her. Let's just see if there's any more in that little clip.
"11-year-old Janet Hodgson appears to be the focus of many of the strange happenings in Green Street."
Again, yeah, a female in early adolescence. Absolutely classic case for attracting this kind of phenomena.
But they also affect her 14-year-old sister, Margaret, and their younger brother, Billy.
All right. You don't hear much about Billy, actually. I think sadly Billy died, I think. It's very sad. I think he died when he was about 16 or something, if I remember rightly. Very, very sad, that.
One of the first manifestations was when Lego bricks began to fly at high speed around the living room.
Oh, nostalgia! Sorry, guys, I'm off topic here, but do you remember those those cream cracker tins and things? I used to keep Lego in a cream cracker tin too. I'm a little bit younger than those girls, but yeah, I did.
How does it feel to be haunted by a poltergeist?
It's not haunted. Shut up.
Why isn't it haunted?
I don't know.
Does it frighten you, the things that happen here?
Oh, well, it did first, but now I've got more used to it. And you learn to accept the things that happen.
It slung covered at Mum. My idiot Mum. Slung a bookshelf at Mum. Yeah.
A bookshelf, blimey.
Have you tried telling it to go away?
Yes,
Yeah.
many
No
times.
answer, nothing.
And what does it reply?
No, it won't. It'll stay another 6-7 years.
The local police could find no explanation for the knocking either.
Okay,
They were even more baffled when two...
okay.
I then said to it...
That's gross.
I then, as I said on the tape here, I then said to it, if you can whistle and bark and groan, then you can talk. And I asked it to actually say my name.
Well, just a minute. But try again. I want you to call out my name. My complete name. Morris Gross. See if you can do that. Hello.
Go on, it's scary, isn't it? That would scare me, wouldn't it?
Very good. Let me hear you say my name again. Come on, let me hear you say my name. Come on, my name's Morris.
Well, that sounds like a dog barking, but there's better than this. There's better recordings than this.
Morris.
Now that was the first time we heard the voice, and since then we've been hearing it again and again, and it's been getting louder and louder.
What about the voices? When did the voices start?
December the 12th.
December the 12th.
Yes.
And how did they start?
Well, one night Mr. Grove was talking about it about 8:30. He said, all we need now is the voices to talk. And that night I went to bed and can't remember exactly what happened.
Do you hear the banging there?
And
Heard some bumping. Do you hear that? I love her accent, by the way. I mean, that accent doesn't really exist anymore in London. It's kind of more the sort of South London accent, which is a bit Caribbean, has kind of moved over the whole city. You know, it's...
Knocking.
yeah,
That's, can hear it now. I was doing that yesterday morning, and Peggy was on her own.
So who's doing it? I mean, if the girls... Apparently one of the girls was making that noise, but you can see quite clearly both the girls are sitting there in front of the camera. So who is doing that noise right now? You can hear the banging. Maybe is the mum faking it as well? Is Billy?
So she come in to us, because it wasn't her, she come in. We sat together and we heard it. And I counted down my knocks and there was 14 altogether. And it's doing it again now.
That was 3 knocks just now.
Yes, it goes in 3s and 2s.
how we first got contacted, this was when Mr. Grove said, if there's anyone there, knock twice for yes, and if not, 1 for no.
I wonder if we did that now, whether it would answer. Is anybody there? Is anybody there?
God. Are you guys scared? Some people are like, let's say they're giggling because they're playing a trick and it's sort of Jupiter's glee. It's more like to be just nerves because they're in front of the cameras.
Nothing.
It doesn't always do it to order.
No, it doesn't. It goes in spasms. Like we're talking now. It may not now, after you've said that, but it won't do it when you want it to, straight away. You know.
What about the voices? They sometimes say things and make answers.
Oh God!
Is that the voice now?
Yeah.
Is anybody there? How many voices are there?
Dirty Dick, Andrew Garner, and Stuart Thurton.
Dirty Dick, Andrew Gardner, and Stuart.
Thurton.
Since she's given a series of names, you could actually check out those names and see if they exist. If she's talking about real people who might have maybe people lived in the house in the past.
For you.
No.
Mr. Ghost asked him, but something distracted Mr. Ghost last night when he asked. Or some time ago.
And
Sorry,
what do you think these are? Are they people or are they just voices?
Could be spirits, oh, I don't know.
I believe it's a
Ghost
form
or
of a
something.
spirit speaking for us somehow. No. We don't get this at school, these voices are. Because I believe when we're all separate, it's not so strong.
That's
Just
probably a
to
good job,
come
isn't
near
it?
each other.
Yeah,
Just imagine what the social workers would do if they started doing that at school. Good grief.
like here, or our aunts all up there together, or in Peggy's next door.
And Janet's, your voice is stronger, isn't it? It seems to be the strongest.
Yeah.
When you hear the voice and it comes out, where does it come from? Here, your throat.
No.
Where do you feel it comes
Back of
from?
the neck.
Back of the neck.
And so it must be as if it's somebody else speaking then, when you hear
Yeah,
it.
behind us.
And do you get the feeling when you hear the voice that there is a person there?
Yes.
Yeah.
And do they tell you much about themselves?
Not really, no.
They just tend to growl and...
Play around and sort of joke and be silly. You know.
I wonder, do you think there's anyone there just now?
Yeah.
Yeah, oh God.
Who's that?
What?
Who's that, Janet?
Pardon? Stuart Certain.
Stuart Certain, and he's one of the voices.
Yeah.
Why do you think he comes?
Does that her sort of grinning and giggling because she was playing a trick, do you reckon? Because he said, what? Pardon? Like she didn't know. How are you guys getting on in chat anyway? You guys getting on alright in chat? I'm having a big scroll down at the moment, yeah. Someone mentions Rent a Ghost, yeah. Yep, that was nice, wasn't it? Jupiter's Delight. It could be, but then at the same time it could be if you throw it into kind of like into the light of the rest of the evidence, it seems unlikely. The Mighty Morph, they would have received payment for this. I don't know. I mean, you don't get payment for everything you do on TV. I don't know specifically if they were or not. I know that there was all kinds of ways which the mother could have exploited this, because I know, there were some people saying, oh, she wanted a better council house, but actually she was very attached to the house she was living in. If you go to Google Earth, by the way, 284 that Green Street, it's just like I think it's actually blanked out. Let's have a look. It was actually blanked out it was blurred out when I last checked. It may have changed, but on Google Earth it was actually yeah. Let's have a look. See if I can find it. Here we go. Right. Is it still now? Let's have a look. This is Green Street in Enfield, London. Now, the house is still there. It has residents there at the moment. I don't know. Now, last time I checked... Let's have a look. It's one of these. What's this? Is it this one here? Yes, that one there. It's the house with the blue door. That's what it's now. When I last looked at this was a few years ago. This house, Jesus House, it's called now. Oh, that's nice. They've got some. The visitors. They don't want visitors, by the way. Please do not approach this premises and knock on the door or anything like that. Please don't phone them up. Little disclaimer now, so I don't. This was covered in. This whole building was blurred, and now it's not. They make no secret about the location, and sometimes people will go along and knock on the door, but they don't like that. The current residents, they have nothing to do with the phenomena or what's going on at the time. So, you guys are getting on alright in chat? It's part of the haunted generation. Yeah, in this case, it was literally, wasn't it? It was literally, was a haunted generation. Don't know if we want to see any more of this, because there's another thing I want to show you.
And speaks through you.
To annoy us.
Does he ever say anything nice?
Well, don't know really.
Shall we try and speak to him? No. We'll see if he'll speak to us.
Yeah.
Is anybody there?
No.
Who's there?
Doctor
Doctor Who?
Is that a ghost making a joke?
Goose chases here.
Hang on. We don't see the rest of that. But do her lips move? Hang on.
Goose chases here.
Now her lips don't move. Now I know that ventriloquists can make sounds. They can make speech without moving their lips. I don't think Where did she learn that though? Where did an 11-year-old girl learn that?
Mr. Gross, a lot of people hearing these voices produced by the...
It's the period up to 3 hours. Well, perhaps you've got something to say, son.
Yeah.
I'd like to know how you make this noise without bashing Janet's vocal cords to pieces. If I do,
That's Guy Lyon Playfair, the other investigator.
Sore throat. Joe?
Guy Lyon Playfair is an author of books on the paranormal.
Buzzing in the back of the neck.
All right, okay, I'll just leave that one for now. There's another clip I want to show you. But where are we now? It's possible I've missed some of your comments because I've been not been looking. I can only do one thing at a time, I think. I'm afraid. But anyway, there's the Light Swallow says I lived on a boat with many portals. Oh dear, did it sink? Just kidding. Oh well, I mean, I'm not knocking you, Light Swallow. I take this sort of thing very, very seriously. So that's interesting. It was a boat. And then I wouldn't shut up about ghosts ever again, says TK. If one of them. Oh, David says, sorry, but that's a girl responding to request with a throat vocal. It's clever, but it's clear enough, in my opinion. I'm not saying there is an underlying supernatural situation that spumed it. Claire's got to go. Oh, Claire's got to go. I'm sorry you got a cold, Claire. Hope you feel better soon. And let me know how you're getting on. I know we're supposed to be recording in a few days, so let me know how you're getting on. And get well soon. Honey and lemon. It worked for me with my voice. Try that. Now, it's impossible to prove that's not the case, David, because she doesn't actually speak for very long. It's possible to speak with Fatavoce just because she only speaks a few phrases. It's possible to speak with Fatavoce 600 like that. You know, I'm a ghost, but I'm not really. You know, but they've got her speaking like that for hours. So there's hours of tape of her speaking long speeches like that. Which, of course, she didn't perform for the TV. The ghost didn't come out for the TV. Now, after they had their very short period of fame, the family went quiet. We need the mumbler. Yeah, Steve, where are you? Where are you, Steve? The girls went quiet, and no, they never said anything until 2012, when they Janet. I know they decided to break their silence. Janet was the first one. Let's just find this particular clip here. This is an exclusive. It's down here as an exclusive. Where is it? In fact, I'm going to get clip. I'm just going to download this. I'm just downloading this with ClipGrab briefly because I just thought this is very important. You never know how long these things are going to last on YouTube. I've seen this before, but it's worth seeing again. Janet Hodgson, as a middle-aged woman, decides she wants to speak to the media. Now, again, I have to ask you the question. I have to ask you the question I ask all the time. I asked this about the Rua case. I asked this about the Westall case. I asked this about the Broadhaven case. How many pranks did you play when you were a little kid that you still maintain were real as a mature adult? Okay. How many do you maintain were real as an adult? Eh? Okay, ClipGrab. Just won't be a sec, guys, because this is something that Janet. Now, it's interesting to listen to what Janet says when she is interviewed here. There's Deborah Hyde in the studio as well. I'm probably going to get third-party strikes for this, but I don't care. I don't care. They can't touch your channel with a third-party strike. And as always, I'm recording it anyway, so if for any reason this stream disappears, you know I can very, very simply, swiftly, without any effort, I can upload it again. There we go. Right, just download that. Shouldn't take long to download. Right, there we go.
If you were watching a few months ago, you will know how scared Holly is of ghosts.
This is a mainstream program. It's Philip and who else downloaded, right? Whoever is with him.
I don't think you can deny that there is something there. There is a facial feature there. You can see the eyes, you can see the nose, the mouth.
Of what we're about to discuss. So, nearly 35 years ago, a normal family was thrust into the limelight thanks to the weird and very strange goings-on of an alleged ghost or poltergeist causing havoc in their home. The story made news across the country, changing the Hodgsons' lives forever. So, was...
Well, it didn't change in terms of their public position. It didn't change them forever. I mean, in terms of their public possession of the public perception of the family. It was like just a very, very short period of fame, followed by years of anonymity. But they have chosen to break their anonymity, the two daughters.
284 Green Street in Enfield, North London, the most haunted house in Britain? On the 31st of August 1977,
We've seen that.
The ghostly goings-on
just a bit of background there.
Semi-detached council house in Enfield in North East continues to intrigue and baffle in equal measure. And Janet joins us now, along with poltergeist expert and investigator Guy Lyon Playfair, and skeptic and author Deborah Hyde.
Rhiannon here? Rhiannon, is she still here? Because we met her, didn't we? We met Deborah Hyde. Do you remember? We sort of saw her. I've actually spoken to Deborah. Did anyone? David's true, but the same is. I wonder if the Cottingley Fairies children kept their stories going. Well, that's true. To be fair, David, they only confessed, I think, just before they died in the 80s, yeah. But it's Rhiannon there. Because we saw her, didn't we? I've actually spoken with Deborah Hyde. I think, but yeah, I'll just go back to here. But Rhiannon and I met her. We met up with this lady briefly. And she was at the ASAP Seriously Strange conference that's just gone.
Welcome, everyone. Thank you. Now, I know, Janet, you don't do very many interviews on this subject. You've sort of put that behind you now. So thank you very much indeed for coming today to take part in this and reliving this extraordinary time of your life. So your mum is Peggy, a single mum, and lived at 284 Green Street. This is the late 1970s, and you've got Margaret, who was 12 at the time, and then there was you, 11, and then there was Johnny, who was 10, and Billy, who was 7. So what was the first time something strange happened in this house?
Well, me and my brother, we were sitting down to bed one evening, and we could hear this shuffling noise, and Mum coming because she could hear us shouting and screaming. And we said that
Janet Winter, she's called now. I mean, she may well have got married, or she may have just changed her name to help her disappear because she was actually interviewed a little bit before this, you know, with her in shadow
towards the bedroom door. So she said, "Oh, don't be silly," but she see it move for herself. And then at one point she couldn't push it back, and then she got quite upset and said, "Right, if we run downstairs."
Well, you went to get a neighbour, didn't you?
Well, let's go
the
forward a little
left,
bit.
Were some words.
Cups filled matches.
She's just. So I don't mean. Some of you might want to watch this. You can find it on YouTube, exclusive Enfield Poltergeist, Janet Hodgson 2012. But she just basically relates the same story we've heard, what we've been talking about. I want to get onto the debate with the Skeppers. So Playfair's going to say a few words as well. There's that photo, see?
The voices.
Well, we've got a picture of here of taken by the newspaper photographer, and this is of you sort of flying.
Oh, that's right. Taken by newspaper, right. I see. I thought this was Gross and Playfair who took the photo. I got that wrong. It actually was a newspaper photographer, right.
Sometimes we pulled up into the air.
How was I see?
Yeah.
Guy, you were brought in. You were an investigator and a writer, and initially you didn't really want to get involved with this.
No, I didn't at all.
What made you get involved?
Well, hearing Maurice Gross on the lunchtime news on Sunday, he'd just been spending the night there with a BBC reporter, and I realised that it was a big story and it wouldn't hang around and wait for me, so I just went straight off.
Now, are you the sort of person who believes in supernatural and poltergeist?
Well, hang on, I mean, it's not supernatural. If it takes place in nature, it's natural.
Yeah.
It's just not understood.
Yeah, good point.
It's what some people call paranormal, which I try to avoid. But, yes, as a member of the Society for Psychical Research, this is what we do. And nobody else is prepared to do it. What I have is exactly what you just described.
Let's get on to the skeppers. It's quite fun.
Go into the kitchen.
This is, you say, this is a voice that came out. It actually, and Bill Wilkins' son, these words were coming out of your mouth uncontrolled. You knew it was happening.
Yes. I could hear them. And at one point, Maurice...
You heard these voices?
Yes, indeed.
Which sound terrifying.
It was produced by severely sore.
For reasons of balance, obviously you are a sceptic, and you don't believe any of this.
No, I'm afraid I don't really, on balance. I think historically there have been enough clear hoaxes. The Fox sisters in Hydesville in 1848 and the Amityville.
Oh, the Fox sisters. Now, you guys, I've got to stop and circle this one like a shark. The Fox sisters. What was it I said about the Fox sisters? Do you remember what I found out about the Fox sisters? It was actually who was it who wrote about this? Oh, it was the guy who wrote the Randy's Prize book, and the fact that there was a direct comparison, which I sort of worked out between that and other fake confessions. The fact that the Fox sisters may well have made a fake confession because they were their presence as these sort of paranormal superstars was ruining their lives. So she mentions the Fox sisters. I mean, there may be others, but anyway, let's go back to hear what Deborah has to say. I don't know her very well. I've spoken to her for a couple of times, but like I said, I've not had a long discussion with her. I don't know her as well as I do Frenchie.
All right. But even when you're not taking into account hoaxes, human beings are remarkably bad.
I should say that the Amityville horror was a hoax. Yeah, I accept that. I accept it was.
Remembering things accurately and seeing things accurately. We see things that aren't there, we don't see things that are there, and we misinterpret things that are there, especially if we're distressed or there's ambiguous information. It's very easy to impose what's called top-down processing. That's the image, the ideas you already have about the world get imposed onto the world and the things that you're seeing.
It's quite compelling, though, isn't it? If you've got the police officers or speech therapists or professional people who seem to have been deeply involved.
It is, and it's a fascinating story, and that's why people remember this side of it rather than all the people.
His face, you can see I'm getting pissed off with this bird.
Who disagreed. The journalist at the time, Doug Benz, and the photographer, Graham Morris, had their issues with it. Mary Rose Barrington from the SPR had their issues with it. There was a subsequent study.
Now, is this going to be... They're just totting up witnesses now. I mean, of course, she could produce many, many witnesses who will say it wasn't true. You can do that for almost any case, but then Playfair will just come out and say, yes, but this journalist, this police officer, this expert said it was. So it just becomes a kind of that there's no way forward with that kind of argument, unfortunately.
The SPR that concluded that the girls were faking it. So I think that we.
That did not conclude.
They saw the girls bending spoons and they thought that some of the girls.
Misinterpretation. Mary Rose Barrington did a very thorough and fair investigation, she concluded at the end that a great deal of the case was absolutely genuine.
I'm sure it's very difficult to tell from this. It's very difficult to get anything under controlled conditions. As soon as you do, it all disappears. That definitely happens. But looking back on it in history now, it's very difficult to say this happened, that happened exactly. What we do know is this stuff isn't replicable under controlled conditions for the most part. That people in the
Well, there have been numerous experiments which some people disagree. They have been controlled. Of course, skeptics will pick holes in it, like the skull experiment, which unfortunately was not 100% watertight. Although, having looked at it in detail and even spoken to some people involved, I personally think the skull experiment was real. I don't think those people were faking it. There's other laboratory tests that have been done along these lines. I think Janet wants to say something. What do you reckon? She does, doesn't she?
PR had issues, that other people had issues, but that we remember this story because it's the best one.
Well, hang on. I mean, my tape recorder was on practically all the time.
Yeah, we remember it because it was the best one. Why? Is there anything wrong with that? Is that a surprise? Are we supposed to remember the ones which aren't very good? He just says tape. Sorry, I interrupted Lion Playfair, there, Guy. He said his tape recorder was on the whole time.
I mean, you can't accuse tape recorders of having a false memory, or are you suggesting all the tapes have been fake?
No, not at all. I do know. Now, who was it that said that the girls were being caught tampering with the tape recorder and damaging it? Was it?
No, they didn't.
Came in later.
No, that's completely wrong. I mean, that was a separate incident where we were trying to record with a videotape to try and get some action in the bedroom.
I think the thing is, though, that I feel sorry for the girls, really, because I think they must have been under a tremendous amount of pressure after a while to come up with something,
Come up with something, I don't think so. You wasn't there, love. You don't know. You don't know what I went through or how I feel today.
No, I'm sure I don't know how you feel today.
It will always be with me, in here.
Yeah, I'm sure it will. I just know that human beings do misinterpret things all the time.
Well, you have to see these things to believe them, and we were there.
To what extent, though, Deborah? Again, this is kind of a repeat of what was it Chris French said? Here we go. Eyewitnesses are notoriously unreliable. Well, all of them, without exception, no matter how compelling, no matter how overwhelming the evidence. Is that really the case? Here we go.
And
exactly.
You weren't. That's what it amounts to. If you think I could have been deceived by this clever little girl for 14 months...
Arthur Conan Doyle was deceived by the girls who brought up the Cottingley fairies.
Well, the thing is, Doyle, unfortunately, wasn't as good an investigator as Playfair. I mean, the Cottingley fairies are very obviously cut out. You could even see they were long exposures because of the water in the background. Let me just find the Cottingley fairies photos. And of course, the girls did confess in the end. They did actually, as David pointed out, they were an exception to what I said earlier. They did actually maintain this. Where's the photo with the stream in the background? Here we go. These were taken in 1914, I think. These photos were taken. You can see it's a long exposure. Look at the blurring of the water down the waterfall. And these are obviously they drew these and coloured them in. But Doyle wasn't as good a. Frankly, Doyle was not as worldly wise as Playfair.
Yes, but there were so many witnesses to this case as well as...
And there were witnesses who didn't agree with this side of the story as well.
Well, we'll have to leave it there.
Okay, so guys, interesting though, isn't it? It's interesting. It's interesting that Janet has now been interviewed a few more times since then. Guys, Philip the Truth Schofield says the lights were low. So I might have lost that. I might have dropped behind on the conversations, guys. So if you want to repeat anything you sort of posted to me earlier, or anything you want, Light says A.C. Doyle was far more intelligent brain than this guy. A.C. Doyle was a great writer. He was a spiritualist believer. He was a great writer. He sort of caught the sort of trailing edge of the golden age of psychical research. Yet, to be fair to Doyle, it could be. The thing is, photography was a far newer technology in 1914 than it was in 1977. You could possibly say that he someone back then would be more likely to be taken in by it than somebody today. Maybe that's it. Maybe I'm being unfair to Doyle. But does anyone want to add anything more? I don't have any more notes. David says, Ben, right, but the argument is that with confirmation bias, it makes it easier to fool a researcher, even when they really think they're being independently rational and scientific. That's true, David, but this is why a good researcher will make an effort. Will make an effort to understand that about themselves. I try to myself. No one is without bias. People who claim they're without bias, it's like I was saying, like I made this point in my skeptic talk. A lot of the skeptics claim they're without bias, which is why the skeptic movement completely misunderstands itself from people within it. So they are people who have confirmation bias, most skeptics, which includes Deborah Hyde, I think. It takes effort to work against that. It does. TK says, like most people say, there are definitely blue whales, but I haven't seen one, but I believe they exist. TK, I've never seen a blue whale either. I'd love to. I love whales. Dolphins, whales, things like that. They're my favourite animal. But there's so much evidence they exist, though, you see. There's so much evidence they exist. Excuse me. Mighty Morph. Some things can't be explained. The logical explanation is that it's mental illness, but why and how we can't comprehend. Mighty Morph, can I be very pedantic right now and just pull you up on something? There is no such thing as a logical explanation. There is only a logical method. It's Steve Mehrer always does this. Steve Mehrer has this habit of talking about rational explanations, and there's only rational methods. Otherwise, you say a logical explanation. When people say that, rational explanation, logical explanation, they tend to mean what they actually mean is something that it involves normal stuff, mundane stuff. So there are logical conclusions. No, there are no logical conclusions. There's only logical methods. A conclusion can be reached by a logical method or an illogical method, but the conclusion itself is not the thing. Oh, Della says, scroll up, read the man who died recognising the voice. Alright. Nothing as it seems. I'll come back to that. He's mentioned Apollo Detectives. Where's that, Della? Because obviously I can't follow the live chat and present the show at the same time. So sometimes I do miss your comments, but... he should... Sorry, Diego Rivera says he should have asked the poltergeist how he died. Oh, blimey, so I'm trying to find this. A hemorrhage, like the old man, Bill, who actually did die there. So he was identified. The ghost was actually identified. Because I heard that. I heard that there was someone who lived there, like Pipes in the series. Okay. And the voice getting the cause of death correct. Well, that's interesting, Della. Yeah, that's interesting. Now, it's remotely possible that the girls might have somehow been able to research the past of the house they live in, but it's difficult to do that. I don't know who lived in this house before me. I mean, I literally don't. I do not know who lived in this house before I did. The son of the man who died, I meant. Oh, right. To find out who lived in a house before you is actually you have to... Excuse me. It's tricky, actually. It's unlikely that two schoolgirls could do that. TK says there are logical explanations, and I've studied logic. Logical conclusions. So if I say ghosts don't exist because fairies told me, right? Or fairies don't exist because ghosts told me, is that a logical conclusion? I'm interested to know how TK can answer this. Would that be a logical conclusion? Mighty Morph says, Ben, have a look at the definition of logical. Certainly, I will. I know what it is. I know if applying it. If you use it as an adjective to apply it to methods, you can't. You see, I'll just ask. Otherwise, you might get confused because I've just asked TK a question that might. TK, it is not a logical proposition to begin with. Right. So it's not a logical conclusion then. Diego, have you ever seen a ghost, Ben? Yes. Oh, Francine says, Ben, do you accept gifts sent in the post? If so, please inbox me the details of where to post to, as I have something for you. Oh, Francine, thank you. I'll have to ask permission from my housemates because my landlord's told me not to do that. But are you on Facebook? Are you on Facebook? I mean, there's some people who I have actually given my postal address to, people I trust. But they're only people I know, I've met and got to know well. My landlord's told me not to. Apart from that, I'm sorry, but you could please. Are you on Facebook, Francine? Because just get in touch with me there. So just to go back to Della's to TK's question, he says it's not a logical proposition to begin with. So how can it be a logical conclusion, even though it's correct? If you believe ghosts don't exist, then it's correct. If it's proven that ghosts don't exist, it's correct. But how can it be logical if I just say, well, fairies told me? TK, a logical conclusion is derived from a set of propositions. Okay, but you need a logical method to get to the conclusion, don't you? Oh, I want to come back before I forget. Someone mentioned something about Apollo detectives. Nothing as it seems. Confirmation bias. Apollo detectives. Well, nothing as it seems. And please feel free to post comments under because I upload my own copy of these. They're on Neil Peel's channel. Let us know exactly where you think our confirmation biases are, because I'm as keen to overcome them as you are. Now okay. Where are we now? Diego Vera. How does Ghostwatch relate to UFOs? It doesn't. Okay. David, have you ever considered the aspect of positional ghosting, i.e., why do they appear in the same place when the Earth and solar system has moved in a universe? Well, maybe it hasn't, David. Maybe the Earth is flat. But I'm joking. I don't know. I mean, maybe because if they are somehow spirits that are attached to the Earth plane, they therefore they mimic the behaviour of living beings in the Earth plane. For instance, something that didn't come up in the Ghost movie, which I think should have done. As you know, Sam, he can walk through doors. He can't pick things up until the ghost on the New York subway teaches him how to. The poor man who has lost his mind basically and is wandering the subway for eternity. But you notice, he should have said, well, how come you could? By the time Sam sits down on a bench, doesn't he? So he can't touch things, and he moves through solid objects. How come he can sit down on the bench? You see, maybe, and then the ghost teaches him. He's got to feel it from within to move things. Yeah. So it could be simply mimicry. It could be they simply mimic the behaviour of what they did when they were alive. Green Sky, hello. One time I did see a bit of hill walking and felt something following me back home. And then I felt like someone cursing me and wishing me bad luck. Even the dogs would bark at me now. Oh dear. That's scary, Green Sky. That's very scary. TK, then we can conclude, given these propositions, that daffodils are yellow. Well, they look yellow. The colour I call yellow, they look like, yes. But that's a logical method that leads me to do it. I go and I look at daffodils and see what they're like. TK, although this logic is not sound, even if it is valid. Well, it is sound. You do it by experiment. You go and look at a daffodil. Is the colour you call yellow present on that flower? Diego Rivera says Jeremy Beadle did a haunted Undertaker prank. Oh god, he did all kinds of pranks, didn't he? Oh, Diego Rivera says the UFO landing where the lady asks him if he wants a cup of tea. You know what? Diego Rivera, I wrote an article about that on a Panmo Voice. It was hilarious. It really was. Thanks, Francine. By all means, get in touch. Cheers. Right, TK, just as logic has two properties of soundness and validity. Right. Maybe I'll discuss this in more detail with you another time. It's Martin Taylor says Jeremy Bradley lived near me, St Mary Cray, Orpington. He drank at Robin's School pub. Who is Jeremy Bradley? Mighty more logical of action, decision, etc. Expected or sensible under circumstances. I said a logical explanation. TK and Mighty Morph, have you watched my skeptic video, like the recent Sufon one? because I go into this in detail. Oh, Jeremy Beadle. All right, Martin. You knew Jeremy Beadle lived near you. Right, I see. Sorry. Are you on your phone with predictive text? Stephen Trueseeker says, I've seen something invisible down on my bed because it made an indentation on the bed. It sounds like, Stephen, you have actually lived in places which are quite spooky, aren't they? Yeah. Oh, you have, TK, right. Well, I discussed the issue in more detail there. Feel free to leave me a comment and I'll talk about it maybe in more detail in the next comments reply video. Oh, I've been going for 2 hours, more than 2 hours, guys. And do you want to add anything else? Because I'd like to call it a night, if you don't mind. It's thanks, TK. Thank you. David, if you could go back in time to witness any UFO ghost apparition manifestation, where would you go and what would you witness firsthand? What would you? I'd like to. Well, there's so many, David. All of them might it would essentially be my way to concur. Would be to confirm what witnesses say. Yeah, I don't know. Diego Rivera, what is your conclusion, Ben, about Ghostwatch? It was. It's a frightening, vivid, disturbing, especially if you don't know it's real. If you don't know it's not real, piece of fiction. It's actually very well made. As a piece of fiction, it's very well made, very skillfully done, including by people who are not normally actors. So yeah, very good. I think it deserves some kind of award. Night, Mighty Morph. See you, mate. Good night, Michael Snow. All right, guys. Shall I call it a night? If you've got nothing else to add, I appreciate all of you. What you've all the what's the word? I'm getting tired. Contribution that you've made to this live stream. Obviously, it would just be me sitting here talking if you guys didn't post in live chat. So yeah, I really do appreciate you joining the live chat. I really do. Stephen Truseek, Ghostwatch was done to cover up the paranormal. Stephen, we're going to talk more about the paranormal cover-up in a future video. Because, yeah, I think it's not just UFOs they cover up. Well, Stephen, I've already done it a bit. Stephen, have you called The Discovery, a film review? Watch that if you haven't seen it. Thanks, David Splendid Isolation. Much appreciated. You're welcome. You're welcome, Nick Treadwell. I appreciate you joining. And you, David Schultz, thank you very much. Have a good evening. It must be earlier where you are. Night User 1. Well, I'm going to set my alarm and see if I can catch the rocket launch in the morning. This is one of the reasons I don't want to finish too late. And then if the rocket goes up, if it finally, I mean, this is the 5th attempt. They've been foiled before by Night Diego Vera, Night David Schultz, Night User 1. They've been foiled before. Oh, it'll be morning soon, says TK. Night TK. Night it's Lights Below. Thanks Lights Below. It'll be their 5th attempt. They've been foiled by technical problems and weather before. What's going to happen in the morning? Will the launch be scrubbed a 5th time? But the Apollo detectives, we're recording something about it. I mean, on Saturday, and I think Neil plans to go ahead with that. Where we're going to discuss Artemis, this return to the moon, and I will do a live stream. Thanks, nothing as it seems. I will do a live stream tomorrow evening if the rocket launches. If it doesn't, I'm not going to bother. That's coming up, and also I will. If it doesn't, then I'll do it when the rocket does launch and whenever they book a date in the future. It's like booking appointments with doctors. Honestly, it's almost getting that rocket off the launch pad is almost as difficult as going to see your GP. What I'm also going to do, of course, is the Moment of Contact live stream. That's on the cards, as is several other things I want to do, and of course Christmas. I mean, I want to do a special. I've got an idea for something special for Christmas. I won't tell you what it is now, but basically, maybe Jam Noise 72 gave me the idea. So, yes, you may guess what it is. But thanks to her, I now have a wonderful idea of what to do for Christmas. A special Christmas series of Christmas videos. Night TK. Night Michael Snow. All right, guys, that's it. It's 9 minutes past 11, and it's time for me to get a cup of warm cocoa and prepare myself for as much sleep I can get. I mean, it's 6:04, so I can get up at like 5:30. It's not that bad. I don't get up much later than that anyway. But anyway, I'll have time to watch the rocket before work. Night, Della. Thanks for joining us. Pride and Dignity, TK. See ya. Bye-bye.